It's Falcons, Patriots, part 2, right? Falcons, Patriots, part 2. And, of course, everyone's going to talk about 28-3, and everyone's going to talk about Mac Jones, a new look for the Patriots and how they've turned things around and the measurement against him versus Brady. And, of course, there's the Brady-Belichick divorce. And then you have the Falcons who, since the Super Bowl, have never really been the same. Ever. Never the same. But I was thinking, and I've been on this for really since Brady left. I think everyone declared Tom Brady the winner of the divorce with Bill Belichick. And think about it. He got to get out of Boston and get to better weather. He took Rob Gronkowski with him. He was able to get Antonio Brown to join him. He joined a team that was younger, more vibrant, ready to win, and ready to listen to his every word. A franchise that was desperately in need of leadership. In the short term, there's no question last year he won. Okay? No question. This year, well, Belichick seems to be gaining some ground. And this reminds me of a divorce. Right? That's what it is. In a divorce, you split things up. What happens to the 401k? What happens to the IRA? What happens to properties? What happens to kids? There's financial and alimony and child support. And sometimes the one who wins in year one does not win in the end. It's not really about winning or losing, but you do break up assets. And what's the expression? There's no such thing as a good divorce. Think about this for a second. Brady got to go to Tampa, right? He got the winter home. He got the kids. He got Rob Gronkowski. You know? He got personal freedom. Hey, man, you come and go as you please. Completely different vibe down there. Right? He got all the cash. Meanwhile, Belichick just kept on keeping on. He didn't move. He didn't change. He didn't reevaluate his life. He just kept on keeping on. He got the investments. You know, it's like they probably argued over Bitcoin 2 years ago. Like, who wants Bitcoin? Fine, Belichick, have it. Now, all of a sudden, Brady's like, ooh, I could use that. Because remember, they were in bad shape against the cap. They were an older team. They needed Gronk to be off the books. He was. Brady being off the books helped him as well. All these things helped them. Not immediately for last year as much as this year, which allowed them to go out and spend as much as anyone's ever spent in free agency over the next 2 years. That's what they've done. They were spendthrifts for so long. They were sitting on all this money for so long. And then the second Brady moved out, they're like, you know what? I've always wanted new furniture. You know what? I've always wanted a new car. My cost of living is set. I know everybody in my neighborhood. I got a good, stable job. Brady got the hot girlfriend. Brady got the short-term win. Brady got the winter home. Got to get out of the weather. Brady got to change lifestyles, be around younger people, be in a different area in Tampa. Right? Whereas Belichick, the familiarity really helped him. And what's interesting about Belichick is, even though there will never be another Tom Brady, you're not going to see anybody play in 10 Super Bowls. You're not going to see anybody win 7 Super Bowls. That's not going to happen. This is a freak of nature sort of marriage. They got a young version of how Brady used to play, and it's working so far for him. What's interesting about what we're going to see tonight from Mac Jones is that Mac Jones had a lot of Brady to him. You got to see it. You got to understand it. You got to feel it. There's just something about him. His ability to grasp concepts, his ability to get rid of the football, his ability to deliver it on time and in rhythm. He doesn't have a strong arm, but it's not weak. He puts the ball where it needs to be. He's not a great athlete, but he's not terrible. And oh yeah, by the way, if you get rid of it quickly, it doesn't matter how good an athlete you are. And then I was thinking about Mac Jones playing tonight. Of course, last time they played Atlanta in the Super Bowl, Kyle Shanahan was the offensive coordinator. Kyle Shanahan, by all accounts, wanted Mac Jones, then got talked out of it. Here's Rodney Harrison on with Dan Patrick this morning.
Probably public pressure. I mean, everybody wants to get into this. I need an athletic quarterback. Yeah, he could run around, and do all these incredible plays at times, but you need somebody that can sit in the pocket, read the defenses, communicate to the offense, get everybody in the right position. And sometimes that's not sexy enough. A lot of these, coaches, they fall to the pressure of the public, man. And when you get a guy like Mac Jones, who's smart, who puts the team first, who does things right, I don't see how you can bypass a guy like that. And ultimately, when you make a decision like that, it can ultimately cost you your job.
And that's what's happening in San Francisco. I don't think it'll cost Kyle his job, but I actually think it helps Kyle in the short term, where Kyle can do the I told you so. And remember, Trey Lance is a long-term project, not a short-term guy. But the point he made is everyone's searching for this next great athletic thrower who can do it all. All that's great. Okay, you can win a lot of games from the pocket. You're less likely to get hurt from the pocket. You don't have to be athletic if you get rid of it quickly. And whatever we think of athleticism, Tom Brady is a non-athlete back there, and he's still able to win Super Bowls into his 40s. It's not all about athleticism. So on one hand, you have the Brady-Belichick divorce where Brady won year one, but it's not a 1 year. It's not a 1 year scenario. And the other, you have Mac Jones, which is the replacement to Brady. They got him cheaper. They got him younger. They got him malleable. And oh yeah, by the way, while he's not Brady, he'll probably never be Brady. He can do some Brady sort of things. And Belichick proving once again, if you just have a guy that can get the ball where we want it to go, we'll be fine. Year one of the divorce was won by Tom Brady. But post-divorce scorecards aren't 1 year long. You have an entire lifetime. You restart your life. And what wins for you in the short term doesn't always win for you in the long term. Where were you in the Super Bowl? So tonight's the replay, obviously, or the rematch of 28-3. Where were you watching that Super Bowl? Atlanta taking on the Patriots.
Yeah, I was there in Houston. So we were media seating, auxiliary seating, taking in Super Bowl 51.
So where was auxiliary seating? Outside or inside the building?
Inside, yeah. Just upper deck, like second row. It was actually a really good view because we didn't have any fans in front of us. Actually, it may have been first row. So first row on the upper deck, kind of towards where the Patriots end zone was painted that year.
Did you think it was over?
Oh yeah. I remember when I believe it was Tevin Coleman who scored the touchdown to go up 28-3 in the third quarter. It was in that end zone, and the celebrations go off, and it's touchdown Falcons, and right at that point it felt like a coronation. And the only time where it switched, Doug, was when the Patriots ended up, it was 28-9, and Belichick kicked a field goal to make it a 2-score game. And I thought to myself, wow, he really thinks that they have a chance. Smart play, but it made it, I believe, 28-12. But when it was 28-3, I thought, here it is. Wow, the Falcons are going to be Super Bowl champs.
We were living in Westport, Connecticut. This was the last Super Bowl I was with CBS. So we came home. We just did the weekly shows, and I came home on a Saturday. And living in New England all that time, we lived in California for 2 years in the middle with CBS, but with ESPN and with CBS, I was there for 12 years combined. So I had a son who's, he was like an OBJ Giants fan. And then everybody else they were all kind of Patriot fans, whatever. I like my Chargers. So the deal was, hey, it's 28-3. You guys are going to bed. We got school tomorrow. And they were little, right? This is, how many years ago is this? This is
5 years ago.
5 years ago? 5 years ago, right? So my girls are 10, my son's 7 at the time, right? And the deal I made with them is, all right, if the Patriots come back and make it close, I'll wake you up. So, but it wasn't like an immediate turnaround, right? Like it was a very slow build. And when it cut to 12, I'm like, do I wake them up? Nah, what's the chances, right? Then they score and you're like, oh, okay, should I wake them up? Now it's like, 10:30 at night, and they're little. They're like bedtime back then was like 8:15 they were out, maybe 8:30 latest they were out. And now we're working on like 9:30, 9:45. And damn if they didn't come back and win the game. And they come back and win it, and I'm like, should I wake them up? Like, no, then I'm admitting all the stuff they'd missed. So we just wait till the next morning. So next morning I woke them up. I even recorded it. Like, do you guys know who won the Super Bowl? They're like, the Falcons. Like, nope. Like, why did you wake us up? Why did you wake us up? That was an amazing, that was a good watch.
It was. There's so much from that game that we point out, whether it be the Julio catch or what the Falcons did with the football, the Edelman catch. But the other point when they replayed it yesterday, the NFL Network re-aired the game, was I completely forgot that the Falcons had fumbled the ball. They were up 16 with 8 minutes to go, and they ended up fumbling the ball on a 3rd and 1. Like, Ryan took like a 5-step drop and ended up being hit and fumbled, and it was recovered by New England in Atlanta territory. And even at that point, I was thinking to myself, it was a 3rd and 1 looking it up at the Atlanta 36, and Dante Hightower hit Matt Ryan on a 3rd and 1. Just run the ball, run another 40 seconds off the clock, punt it back. Ryan took like a 3-step drop and looked like he was loading up to chuck one 20 yards downfield, and they fumbled, and then New England ended up scoring to get within a score that led to all of the events that we talk about.
Jay Stu, where'd you watch it?
I was, I remember being on the couch with my girlfriend at the time, but for whatever reason, and I don't know why this sticks out to me, I just remember Lady Gaga was the halftime act. And I think
it was awful. The green screen thing to start the act was awful.
I remember that part
to jump
too.
into the stadium.
Yeah. And so I think I remember, maybe she was a fan of Gaga, and we were looking forward to that. But that was what, for whatever reason, when I think about that comeback, I think Lady Gaga, and maybe that's where my mind goes. But no, it's one of the greatest things you've ever seen. I mean, we've been in this business, 20, 25 years, and I don't know if it gets enough credit for how bad of a choke job it was, but how incredible the comeback was. I mean, it was quite an amazing game.
I want to say, I don't know if it was that big of a choke job. I really don't. That may sound absolutely crazy to you, but I don't know if it's that big of a choke job. I felt like, look, they made a bad decision. Julio had the most amazing catch, but nobody talks about it, right, because they lost. But had they just taken a knee and kicked a field goal, they would have been fine. Instead, I think they got sacked and they had to punt, and that was when it was 28-3. So, and I don't think the sack that caused the turnover, that wasn't a choke. I want to say it wasn't a choke job. They kept playing. They kept playing to score and to win, and that backfired on them. But there wasn't that many things that go bump in the night. There was the crazy Edelman catch. There was the turnover and the crazy Edelman catch. Those are the things that I remember most. Ramos, where'd you watch that game?
I watched it at my in-laws' house. We all got together for the Super Bowl to watch. So, yeah, that was a pretty interesting game. I thought it was over, too. I think most people thought it was over. And actually, at that point, I wasn't a big... Not that I'm a Brady fan now, but I respect him a lot more now. But then I really wanted them to lose. And so I'm like, wow, they're getting killed. This is great. And then they came back and won, which was like the ultimate in your face.
Yeah, no, it was, I mean, and that's the other part that's really interesting is now we're in a time, it's really hard to explain to people. Now we're in a time where people love Tom Brady. But back then, they hated the Patriots, they hated Brady. Because was that the year of when he was suspended?
Yeah, and that's because Goodell just got seriously booed. It was a raining of boos from the fans. Man, and other words. And then you were also wondering, what was going to happen on the podium? What was Goodell going to do? Was he going to shake Tom's hand? What was it like when he had to give the trophy to Bob Kraft? Yeah.
Fascinating, right?
I don't know if you saw this. It was Sunday, right? When the Cowboys got up 28-3. And I think it was a Twitter account for the Falcons. It was like, yeah, we know. And it was like a quote tweeted 28-3. I want to see that score tonight. That would be kind of cool.
28-3?
If it just ended 28-3.
With the Falcons on top?
No. I'll. You know, that's a good point. I was thinking Patriots, but you're right. It was 28-3 Falcons. So I guess that ruins my prediction.
Well, no, it could be. I mean, it very well could. I mean, like, you know, Thursday night games, road teams usually struggle. I mean, we saw the Ravens last week struggle to do anything. You know, now you have the Falcons at home. They come off a thumping, but they're returning home. You do have Matt Ryan. You know, it's not completely out of the realm of possibility. It's just not likely.
That run, like when they jumped out, and then just looking back at the box score here, you know, when Robert Alford picked off Tom Brady, it's 21-0. And to think that a comeback would even be possible from that scenario after the Falcons had just destroyed Aaron Rodgers in the NFC Championship game, they completely blew the Seahawks out of the water the week before. Like this was just on par with what they had been doing. Mm-hmm. And to think of like that there would be any sort of opportunity where it would change, you didn't think would happen. And that's another reason maybe why Tom Brady and Bill Belichick are different than everyone else, because those things happen to other teams and they happen to other quarterbacks. They don't happen to the New England Patriots. And I mean, even, you know, if they don't get one of those 2-point conversions, they fall 2 points short, but they end up getting those. But they weren't out of the game like Seattle was and like Green Bay ended up being in those previous playoff games.
Yeah. No, Green Bay it was 28-3, and then it got even worse. Now Green Bay also had a couple cornerbacks they just got off the street, right? And it was a joke. But the Patriots' comeback was amazing. And I remember when the thing went overtime, you're like, there's no way Atlanta has anything left to win this game. And sure enough, they did not. If I remember correctly, Patriots got the ball, marched right down and scored.
Yeah, they won the toss, and it was over.
It was over.
Yep.
Which, again, brings me to a rant that I like, which is the as bad as the college football overtime rules are, the NFL rules are even worse, right? Where first one to score wins, unless it's a field goal. That's not considered scoring. You got to score unless you get the ball second, then you can kick a field goal and win. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. None. Zero.